There is a specific moment that happens to almost everyone, usually within 3 seconds of waking up. Your eyes open, the alarm cuts off, and before your feet even touch the floor, a flood of data hits you. The emails you didn't answer, the bills that are due, the argument you had yesterday, the vague, crushing weight of the future. It is a chemical dump of cortisol that hits your bloodstream before you have even had a sip of water. Most successful people, the ones who seem to move through chaos with a strange kind of calm, they don't just have better discipline than you. They have a secret weapon to fight this chemical warfare. It isn't a pill, it isn't a cold plunge, and it isn't a double shot of espresso. It is a technology that has been used for 5,000 years. But only now, in the last decade, have neuroscientists finally figured out how it works. We used to call it religion. Now the labs are calling it a neurological distinct state of consciousness. We are talking about the secret power of morning prayer. And if you think this is just about spirituality, you are missing half the story. This is about biology. This is about how the first 10 minutes of your morning can literally rewrite the physical structure of your brain for the next 10 hours. For millennia, if you asked a monk, a mystic, or a priest why they prayed at dawn, they would give you a spiritual answer. They would say it centers the soul, or it connects them to the divine. And for a modern data-driven society, that sounds nice, but it sounds soft. It sounds like a placebo. But then researchers like Dr. Andrew Newberg started doing something radical. They didn't just listen to people talk about prayer. They put them inside machines. They used high-tech imaging, like SPECT scans and fMRIs, to look inside the skulls of people while they were deep in prayer. And what they saw on those monitors shocked the scientific community. They didn't see a passive brain. They saw a brain on fire. They discovered that prayer isn't just a fleeting thought. It is a heavy-lifting workout for your neural circuitry. It turns out, when you bow your head, you are pulling levers and flipping switches in your biology that regulate everything from your immune system to your emotional intelligence. Let's look at the machinery. To understand why this works, you have to understand the war happening inside your head. Right behind your forehead sits the prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO of your brain. It handles focus, logic, empathy, and decision-making. But deep inside, near the brainstem, is the amygdala. This is the ancient lizard brain. It is the panic button. It scans for threats, screams danger, and triggers the fight or flight response. In our modern world, the amygdala is constantly overheating. It mistakes a rude comment on social media for a tiger in the bushes. When you wake up anxious, that is your amygdala holding the microphone. Here is where the science of prayer gets fascinating. The brain scans show that during focused, intentional prayer, the activity in the prefrontal cortex, the CEO, surges. You are literally pumping blood and oxygen to the part of your brain that makes you human, rational, and kind. But at the exact same time, the activity in the amygdala, the fear center, drops. It goes dark. By engaging in this ritual, you are strengthening the commander and silencing the alarm system. And this isn't just a temporary state. This is the wildest part: neuroplasticity. We used to think the adult brain was fixed, like concrete. We now know it's more like clay. Neurons that fire together, wire together. If you wake up every morning and immediately stress about your to-do list, you are physically building a superhighway to anxiety. You are making your brain better at being stressed. But the opposite is also true. When you practice morning prayer, you are engaging a process called synaptic pruning. You are reinforcing the neural pathways for gratitude, for perspective, and for calm. You are physically thickening the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. Think about that. You are building a thicker, stronger brain. Studies have shown that long-term practitioners actually have different brain structures than non-practitioners. They have more emotional resilience, not because they are lucky, but because they have spent years in the mental gym. And there is a chemical component to this that we cannot ignore. We need to talk about BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists often call this miracle grow for the brain. It is a protein that encourages the growth of new neurons and protects the ones you have. High levels of BDNF are associated with faster learning and better memory. Low levels are linked to depression and Alzheimer's. Research suggests that the states of mind achieved during deep prayer and meditation can actually boost the production of BDNF. You are not just sitting there thinking words. You are bathing your brain in a regenerative chemical bath that helps you grow new cells. Then there is the cocktail of neurotransmitters. When you shift your focus from what I have to do to what I am grateful for, or when you surrender control to a higher power, your brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical, and serotonin, which stabilizes your mood. You are effectively microdosing your own brain with natural antidepressants before you even brush your teeth. This explains why the rest and digest nervous system activates during prayer. Your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure drops, the cortisol gets flushed out. You are physically preparing your vessel to handle the stress of the day rather than reacting to it. So if the science is so undeniable, why is it so hard to actually do? Why do we scroll Instagram instead of praying? Because we overcomplicate it. We have this movie-style image in our heads that real prayer needs to be an hour long, performed in a candle-lit room with perfect focus. That is a trap. That is perfectionism. And perfectionism is the enemy of progress. The brain doesn't need an hour to start changing. It needs consistency. The neurological benefits we are talking about kick in with just 12 minutes of practice. But you can start with 2. You need to anchor this habit. You need to hack your environment. Don't just say, I'll pray tomorrow. Pick a specific chair. That chair is now your cockpit. When you sit there, your brain will eventually learn to automatically downshift into that alpha wave state. The physical space triggers the mental state. And when you sit there and your mind starts to wander, because it will wander, you will start thinking about breakfast or that email. Do not get angry. That moment of noticing your mind drifted and gently bringing it back to the prayer, that is the rep. That is the bicep curl for your prefrontal cortex. That is where the brain change actually happens. You can use a framework if you feel lost. The ancients used them for a reason. The ACTS model is a classic. Adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication. It's just a mental scaffolding to keep your thoughts from drifting into chaos. Or use a journal. The act of writing forces the brain to slow down and process emotion in a way that just thinking cannot. It moves the worry from the amygdala to the analytical brain, making the monster look smaller on paper than it felt in your head. Whether you call it a spiritual discipline or a neurological biohack, the result is the same. You stop being a victim of your own chemistry. You stop waking up in reaction mode, bounced around by the urgency of the world. Instead, you claim the first territory of the day. You set the thermostat before the heat kicks in. You build a brain that is physically structured for peace. So, the challenge this week is not to become a monk. It is to take 5 minutes. Before the phone, before the coffee, before the noise. Sit down, close your eyes, and rewire your mind.